Welcome to episode 220 of the Lone Hockey Podcast. For today, we're going to be talking about some standouts in last night's matchup in the four nations between the US and Finland. And it was kind of a blowout. And I was quite surprised to say the least. I thought that Finland, they would be a little bit more competitive in this game, but we saw it was towards the back half of the second where the US, it started to look like the US were really going to win this game. And then the third, they just took off and scored two early goals in the period. And it really looked like they were going to win the game from that point on. They were up 5-1 at that point and then eventually scored a sixth goal. So with the US, they were just absolute wagon this game. Absolute, so fun to watch. Like they had so many guys rolling. Like when you talk about their top line of Jake Gensel with Austin Matthews and Jack Hughes, so good. I thought Hughes and Matthews were showing more chemistry in the early stages of the game. And then Gensel just took off throughout the back half of the game and looked even better and showcases adaptability with those two guys. And throughout the lineup, like you look at so many different guys throughout the US lineup and their forward group specifically, and just how active they were. Like their JT Miller was rolling, Vincent Trocheck was going. They had the Kachuk brothers who were playing unbelievable hockey with four goals and an assist combined between the two. Eventually, they were playing together at 5-on-5 throughout this game too. And then you just look at how competitive this USA group is. And I really believe that if they can maintain this degree of consistency, they could be one of the best teams, if not the best team in the tournament. And they have a very steady all around presence too. When you look at their backhand, when you look in net, Connor Hellebuyck was excellent in net, which is a really good sign to see this early on in the tournament because he was a guy coming into this tournament. I was like, I don't know how well he could play. I know he's an elite goal in the NHL. He's a Vezina winner and clearly one of the top NHL, if not the best goalie in the NHL right now. And so I was just curious to see what would happen with Hellebuyck throughout this tournament and how he'd adapt. And he showcased really good movement into the crease yesterday. He was tracking rebounds. He wasn't allowing second pucks that much. So he was doing a really good job sealing pucks on the first contact and in his glove or in his blocker, usually in his glove. But when it came to Hellebuck's ability, he was just really steady and really reliable back there, and he was kind of a soothing presence for them in net. So that was really good to see. And then on the back end, you had so many different assets and so many different guys available in terms of Adam Fox looked good, and I really like Brock Faber's game. I really like Jacob Slavin's game. I really like Charlie McAvoy's game too. He was on that second unit, on that second power play unit. And I believe it was Zach Werenski. I could be wrong there. But speaking of which, Zach Werenski was also really noticeable as well. I thought a lot of their decor was noticeable. A lot of their forward group was noticeable. And the Kachuk brothers essentially won the game for them because they scored four goals in total. Brady scored two and Matthew scored two. So it would have been 4-1 with those two guys alone. So it's pretty impressive to watch in terms of the obviously the Kachucks and what they can bring in terms of their all around game. And they're basically clones of each other. They play the game very similar to one another, and they both play it at an elite level, which is a rarity to see in brothers, but it's really cool. And just so many guys are noticeable. I didn't really notice too many guys in Finland. Like their top line, supposed top line was Arturi Lehkonen with Sebastian Aho and Rantanen, but I didn't really notice the line that much, to be honest. I was quite surprised. I thought they would be shooting the puck more. I thought they'd be creating chances more. They just were mitigated to almost nothing. And I remember believe it was in the first period where that line, they didn't have any shot attempts. And the interesting thing with Finland is obviously they have some injury issues. You got Rasmus Ristolainen out in the back end. He would have been in this tournament, and then Miro Heiskanen would have been your number one defenseman, but he's out for this tournament as well. So that's obviously two holes for Finland in that sense. More being Miro Heiskanen. Miro Heiskanen's a way bigger loss, but when you look at just the group of Finland as a whole, I really don't know what they're going to play like the rest of the tournament, especially after this game. It's kind of hard to envision what they can be and how they can play. And it might be one bad game or it might be another bad game for them against Sweden tomorrow. I don't really know how it's going to play out with them. It's an interesting situation, but I would have expected way more from Aho, Rantanen, and Lehkonen, those three combined, just to be able to set the tone a little bit for Finland. I was surprised that they were generating next to nothing. It's unusual for them to generate that. And it's weird to say the least to say that those three guys, Lehkonen, Aho, and Rantanen, they created almost nothing in this game, which is weird. But just going back to the US, I thought the all-around effort was so good. Like their checking improved throughout the game. Their chemistry improved throughout the game. I thought they were playing better defensively throughout the game. They were just all around more consistent as the game went on. And early on, they were able to take the reins a little bit offensively. And from there, just kind of, what's the word? It just kind of improved over time, for lack of a better term. And with that lineup, it's so fun to watch. I'm so excited to see how the U.S. performs the rest of the tournament. And tomorrow is going to be two really intriguing matchups. You have the Finns against Sweden, massive rivals. They hate each other. They don't like each other at all. And then you have the Canada versus US, which is going to be an absolute bloodbath as well with the Kachucks in that mix. So it's going to be so much fun to watch and so electrifying to watch. There's so many unique talents out there, and I'm really excited to watch all the teams, but obviously tomorrow's early game, I'll be watching Sweden a little bit more, and then the late game, you're just gonna have so much talent with Canada and USA. So it's gonna be really fun to watch. And yeah, those are some standouts from last night's matchup.